Today coming up, how to EQ, how to get more out of your mix, at least 10-15% by following these EQing tips.
Why did you waste all this time? Was it ever worth my mind?
Hi guys, welcome to the studio. Before I get killed in the comments, let's get right to the giveaway. I told you I will do it on Monday, and with Monday I mean my Monday. This video is going to be out for you tomorrow, so Tuesday. So please don't give me such a hard time, and I told you it's going to be the person that has the most thumbs up on the video where I announced it. The winner of the keyboard is Vibrato. He gets this. Please PM me your address and I will send it out right away. Let me know if you want to have it with the dust or without, and if you want me to sign it or not. Totally up to you. I will of course also include a cable if I can find one here. As you know, my studio is a little bit chaotic at the moment. I just redid the diffuser in the back and some of the absorbers. So now that this is done, let's get to the main topic without any further delay. Today's Monday, a big Monday business day where I don't really have the time. Usually I do the Q&As, but since I forgot to ask you to send me questions on Snapchat and Instagram stories, I don't have any, so let me do something instead that I wanted to do already for quite some time, and that is like a very basic production guide going through effects and techniques and explaining them in detail. Today starting with the first, one of the most important, definitely EQing, and I think I will follow it up with like everything about compression and so on. Maybe do like a short series out of it. Let me know what you think about this idea, but now let's get into EQing. I've opened up my Logic project with a song called Not Scared. It's actually already all done. I'm just waiting for new vocals because the ones that I already had, they didn't really work. But I still want, after not working on it for half a year, go back into the mixing. And the first thing I usually do is applying an EQ to almost every single track, actually to every single track. And if you don't know what an EQ is, how do you explain EQ? It's so basic, I never thought about how to explain it. But basically it's a volume fader, so you can go up or down with the volume. But instead of going up and down with the volume of all of the frequencies, you can pick certain frequencies and lower them or raise them. So for example, this guitar part here, I cutted away the low frequencies. That's usually what I do on almost every element in my songs, to just get rid of the low end that isn't needed, like the mic rumble or any low frequencies that shouldn't be there. So I always go through all of the tracks individually, soloed. I listen to them, apply the first EQing, and that first EQing, as this one on the guitar was, is like a correction EQing, doing the low cut and also getting rid of resonating frequencies. That's all I do, just to make sure the sound on itself sounds good. All other EQing I always do while listening to the entire mix, otherwise it just doesn't make any sense. If you want to boost certain frequencies, you have to listen if there are not other frequencies by other elements masking it, so you might have to lower it on the other element or just not boost it on the one that you're listening right now. And I can guarantee you, if you open up your project you're working on at the moment and you go through every single track and spend like 10 minutes on every single one EQing it to the best, like doing the correction, low end, and getting rid of resonating frequencies, which should just take like 2 minutes, and 8 minutes listening to that element while all other elements are playing, and EQing it differently also for different sections of your song. For example, the guitar here in the intro is a separate track because it's just playing with the kick and the bass, but later on it's playing with the vocals, with chords, and it needs there a different EQing because other elements are competing for the same spot. And if you do that, if you really spend the time EQing it to the best and really listening carefully to it, and over the years training your ear to be able to hear it faster, I'm pretty sure you can get like 10, 15, maybe even 20% out of the production you're working on right now. A lot of people always ask me which EQ to use. I'm using for all of the correction and basic stuff. For the low cut, I just use the Logic EQ. It's totally fine. It works. The sound is okay. It's great. There's nothing to complain about it. There are a lot of other companies that make EQs. They were basically all doing the same thing, except for the old emulating EQs. They are more used for coloring than really doing precise EQing. So it's more about the kind of tone that they add to your song. A lot of vintage EQs, if you put them on top and you add something in the top end, it just sounds different than just using a digital EQ that isn't emulated and trying to recreate that old vintage kind of sound. But if you're just starting out, stick to a basic EQ, use an EQ on every single track, even effects, I EQ them, even the kick gets a little bit of EQing, getting rid of the frequencies maybe below 20 Hertz, 30 Hertz, they're just not needed. And also like one of the standard EQing tips is to lower the frequencies in a narrow band. So for example, if you have resonating frequencies in the hi-hats, you can make a very narrow band, try to find the frequency where your ear reacts to, and then invert it, reduce it by 10 dB to get rid of it, to make the hi-hat sound cleaner. And if you want to boost frequencies, it makes sense to boost them in a wider range. So that's usually what I do. If I lower something, I make it more narrow and more precise. If I add something, I make it with a higher Q factor, making the band way wider. But those are just some general tips. You can also EQ however you want, as long as it sounds as you want it to sound. But what's really crucial is to never ever forget to listen to everything with all of the elements playing. I know a lot of people that just solo things and do the EQing and the effects, but it doesn't make sense, because at the end your track, when it's finished, when it's released, people will listen to the entire thing and no one will ever be able to solo any of the elements, so it doesn't make sense to work on them while they're soloed. The solo button is probably the worst in any DAW. Just avoid using it except for making like precise changes or getting rid of clicks and stuff like that. And then there are the more advanced EQing techniques. You can select it in the Logic EQ. It is able to do it actually since I think like 1 or 2 years. You can select processing and change it from stereo to left only, right only, mid only, and side only. And especially mid only and side only is very interesting. This way you can, for example, if the vocal is sitting in the middle of the mix and you have a guitar that is really nice and wide and there's still some frequencies in the mid signal left, you can reduce them in the EQ and maybe boost then the side signal a little bit to make it as loud as it was before. And this way even carve out more room for the vocals. So the modern EQs let you not only raise and lower the frequencies, they also let you lower and raise them in a certain spot in the stereo field, which is just amazing. It helps a lot, but it's still a very specialized thing. I don't use it that much, but sometimes it's the only way to rescue something, so I'm happy that it is there. Almost every EQ has as like the first band a low cut, so you can choose what frequency you want to cut away. So everything below this frequency is getting cut. Here it's like 106 Hertz. The 24 dB per octave, that means like how steep the slope actually is. So you can cut it a little less so that it only makes like 6 dB of a cut per octave. I usually go with a 24 dB cut or even a 36 or 48 cut if it's necessary. With the next band you can usually lower or raise the very end of your mix. So here the low end, everything that is 90 Hertz and below is getting boosted by 8.5 dB. With the next 4 bands you can pick any frequency, raise it, lower it. You can make it really wide, really narrow. For example, this one right here, maybe here and the top frequencies would be perfect to get rid of resonating frequencies of hi-hats. And here at the end, the same thing. You can boost your high frequencies or cut them. And I'm really happy about this function here. I can go back anytime to what it was before. That's my EQ setting for the guitar. So I hope you enjoyed this basic EQing kind of tutorial explanation video. I now have to just get back to the business stuff. There is no way I can continue working on music, unfortunately. Mondays are always extremely busy, especially since I try to take the weekend off. There's like all of this stuff then just hitting me right on my face on Monday. But before I end the video, don't forget that there's still the giveaway for the sound card. All you have to do is become a Patreon, be part of this community. And I hope this makes it to someone that doesn't have a sound card. It's my old sound card. It's really dirty, but it's still working. This is like a 500 euro piece of equipment. And as you know, before the things collect dust here in my studio, it's better to just send it out to someone of you. and this way hopefully help someone to fulfill their dreams of becoming a full-time DJ and producer. Let me know if you like this series, if you want to see more. The next would be definitely compression, how to compress, when to compress, what a compressor is actually doing, if you need it, when you need it, don't need it. All of those questions would be then in the next episode. Don't forget to like, subscribe. The next video coming tomorrow, as always.
Is it you or is it me?